Right, before we get to Jody, this was last night. We'll briefly show you this and then bring on board Jody Jackson, Shane Doan, after last night's big event.
All the way down to like who was taken in the third round in 2018, who's playing in Brandon, and he's a right wing. Anyways, he would tell you. So for him to see the absolute pure joy and how excited he is as a fan, and obviously I am too for being a fan of all of the guys and everything about it and wanting the organization to do well. Yeah, it's awesome, and this is a huge game. Obviously, Lions got a couple the other night, so you're going to have to be good tonight because once he gets rolling, he's tough to stop. But this is a big game, and they got to find a way to win, get some points.
That was last night. Shane Doan talking about his son and how geeked up he is about the Coyotes in a playoff race. That brings us to Jody Jackson, Fox Sports Arizona's pre-post game show host of the Coyotes, also the Diamondbacks. I saw her doing some Grand Canyon last week. She doesn't take a day off. And I know you have a meeting here in like 7 minutes, so just drop the phone when you have to go.
No worries. I'm sure I can be a little bit late for you, Brad.
That's very nice of you. Did you cry last night?
Yes.
Yeah?
I cried. It's interesting. I cried a little more than I thought I would, and I cried at like the strangest times.
Like when?
Well, so the first thing was I cried when Todd was talking about his granddaughter Frankie and her struggles, and Shane being there for them at that time. And then, I mean, it happened kind of intermittently, and it would be like strange when they just showed they'd cut to Shane's family, and just kind of that emotion. When he would be like smiling and laughing, and then he would get serious and he would kind of tear up. And then, the other one that really stood out was Tyson.
Yes.
And just everything. I mean, we all that work closely with Tyson, especially the guys on the road, because the road trip this week and then coming back home. And I had heard he was so, nervous about it and all of that. And just him delivering that, and everybody just kind of sharing those personal stories you don't always hear, kind of bearing your soul, wearing your heart on your sleeve, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool to see that. And when he spoke about his mother and when she was dying of cancer and how Shane was there for him. And then, but, it was then Tyson when he went on to just describe his goals and, the things that he did on the ice, I was like, I cried at that too. I was like sitting there thinking and telling my producer, I don't know why I'm crying right now. He's talking about his goals and assists, but it was the way that it was all delivered, which was very heartfelt and really special night. And I just applaud everyone from top to bottom. And the Coyotes did a great job. Todd obviously did a wonderful job. He just has a way with words, and it was just perfect. And then everyone's speeches were great. Shane was typically gracious, and and his family, you can see it just radiates goodness. It's just weird. I think we all kind of, a couple people talked about it too, is like you think about, you find yourself wondering, how can you be as good a human as this person? And that's actually good for all of our souls, isn't it? I mean,
yeah,
it was really neat.
When did you laugh last night? I got when you cried. What made you laugh last night?
Well, Tyson made me laugh a couple times. Just, he's got the lines that you hear during the games, things that he says about a play or a guy, or he might describe a guy's body type, or, when you talk about Shane wearing a belt buckle as big as a dinner plate,
yes,
or, just silly stuff. And it was just totally, it was cool because that's like the Tyson you see every day, so he was able to be really serious and share, and then also just be his regular, his humor is great. And then, a couple of times I laughed at Daniel Briere's story. I
laughed when Bettman got booed, and then
I laughed too because it's a guy. I love Gary. I love Gary Bettman.
Yeah, sure, defend him.
I find it hilarious that people.
He got booed, not just a little. He got booed, not just a little bit of booed. He got booed.
I'm trying to figure out now, because back in the day when he would come to town, people here would boo him because of the Coyotes, for whatever reason. Like they, just that they were. I don't know. I don't even know what. He never has had a hand in why the Coyotes have struggled. But then, last night I was trying to figure out, was it the Winnipeg fans?
Mm-hmm.
And how many Winnipeg fans really were there? I don't. So maybe I'm totally off on that. And there are some people that are fans of Winnipeg and Phoenix and Arizona. So I don't know. I had to laugh with him. He came up to the stage with me and said, look, Gary, he's seen me around forever. Obviously he's based in New York. I was East Coast for so long. I was covering the Florida Panthers. I at times was, and they were in the Stanley Cup Finals my first year of covering hockey. And so he kind of, he and I have seen each other going back to those days. And I said, I'm just embarrassed for this. I'm embarrassed for that situation. And he just laughed. He goes, he's been in it 26 years as the commissioner. I personally think he does a very good job. And no one knows how to navigate that league and everything that goes into that than he does. So he has a great attitude toward it. He just kind of laughs. So he was asking about my family. He's another guy that's very engaged, he's asking about my family, and I know he has grandchildren now, and I don't know, it was just, he's happy for Arizona. He was genuinely happy to see that crowd. And yes, when he said that Shane was the reason why the team is still there.
Yes.
That was, and there are things that have gone, he didn't get into detail with me last night, but we've heard stories about meetings that went on, and Shane was right there. And Shane doesn't want to talk about that, but because there were times when people were gauging the fan interest, like, look, is this worth it? And people love Shane Doan. And it becomes harder to rip people's hearts out when there's a player that they love, A
couple other questions, and I'll let you go because I know your meeting's coming up. Jody Jackson, Fox Sports Arizona reporter and show host on Last Night with Shane Doan. What does he do in 5 years, 10 years in terms of being involved with the Arizona Coyotes? Right now he's involved with the league. Is he a future president? I'm not taking Aaron Cohen's job, but is he an owner? Or where do you see him going?
Well, that's a great question, and I think it'll, I don't know. He can probably do whatever he wants because he brings an element, even if there are things that he doesn't know the intricacies of, But, everything he's been exposed to, though, has really prepared him for mostly anything he would want. I just don't know. So just a word on Aaron Cohen, I think he's doing a really nice job. He's connected a lot of dots.
Yes.
And I don't know. But I think he could definitely, I think it was too raw of a situation when everything went down, and was like, I think his conversation with Gary Bettman was probably like, Gary was like, what do you want to do? And at that moment, it wasn't work for the Coyotes, So at that next moment, it was like, well, can you come on and work for the NHL? And so I think that definitely that marriage is something that could happen for sure. It's really up to Shane. And, he's very, even though his daughter's in college, but, he's so busy with his kids and everything, too. I think he wants to be able to focus on that. I met with them right after Christmas, and he's just, so he wants to be involved with those kids in a way that he wasn't involved before. Even though I was amazed, I asked the kids, I said, how did you guys are saying that he's around even when he's not around? How does that happen? Because, I'm on the road about 60 nights a year or whatever.
Sure.
And I'm like, this man is amazing. Those kids told me, well, we felt like he really was never gone. I'm like, Shane Doan, you really are amazing. So
speaks to
how he does it.
Speaks to the person that he's married to as well.
Yes, they are really, truly genuine and wonderful people, and it's great.
Before I get you out of here, so last night we saw the royalty of Arizona sports, which was great to have Larry and Kurt and Luis and Shane there. I guess, Jody, I'm curious on your point of view in being front-facing talent around the Diamondbacks. You do the Cardinals show in the off-season, but that's not your main job anymore. And you have the Coyotes. It's a big part of what you do. How do you look at this group here in Phoenix, those four in particular, and how it all works together in a market that right now is pretty flat outside the hockey team making a playoff push?
I mean, I think that group is amazing. I really was thinking about it when Larry and Kurt joined Matt McConnell last night during the broadcast. Mm-hmm. And then, you have Gonzo, who is such a big part of the community. I was thinking how lucky we are to have great role models in this town. And they all are a little bit different in their own way, but they all really value the connection with people, and they all really get the fact that they were lucky to do, I think gosh, I hate to sound like I don't know if it's a mom or just a
No, no, it's Jody. You go, keep going, girl.
Like,
you got it.
I feel like there's everybody in this life right now I feel like they confuse empowerment with like entitlement. You know, I mean, but you can be empowered and be just grateful, right? Like I think you listen to some of these great athletes and these people that, you know, really people do bow down to them, but they don't ask for that. You know what I mean? They never asked for it. They never expected it. They don't look for it. And yet I think we see so many people that maybe don't nearly deserve it, and they sort of expect it in any walk of life. So I think that's what makes these people special for whatever reason, whether it's the upbringing, the experiences they've had, their wives, their loved ones, something that taught them that, you know, I thought Andrea Doan said it well to me in the piece I did on the family. Who gets to do this? Who even gets to do this? You know, or do we wish he had won a Stanley Cup? Do we wish it ended differently? But who even gets to do all of this? And who, you know, and I think you hear that same type of stuff from Kurt and from Larry and from Gonzo. And so it's a great example. I hope kids are watching.
No, that's well put. Well put. I'll let you go off that, get to your meeting. Appreciate the time and insight as always. Thanks.
Yeah. So we're going to juggle some hockey and D-backs. It's going to be a lot of fun, Brad. We'll see you out there. I'm glad you were able to get out there yesterday. It was something that I don't think any of us will ever forget.
No question about it. Thanks, Jody.
Thanks, Brad.
There's Jody Jackson.